Catus Maximus here. This time with a review of the Ultra Steel Universal Socket. What a great tool name, or a great company name. Anyway, this is one of these universal type sockets. It is Taiwanese. This will be similar to the Gator Grip. And I didn't realize this, but the orange box, Home Depot still sells Gator Grips on the shelf. So this is O'Reilly's O'Reilly's Auto Parts take on it. It's a little bit larger, 13/16 socket versus the base size of the 3/4 inch, although there apparently is a large size Gator Grip. Gator Grip also, I believe, is the original patent holder, but I believe they've actually been out for 20 years. So their patent either expired or there's some aspect of it that this company was able to circumvent. How these work is there actually are like normal deep well sockets, although this one appears to be based on a spark plug socket. This would be a 3/4 inch, this 13-inch socket, and then they put in a whole special spring-loaded mechanism inside the socket with all these pins. And yes, all these pins, each pin is individually sprung in both of these sockets. Now, as we can see, that there is quite a bit of a difference. One, that there is a center portion, so there is a minimum fastener size on the Gator Grip, where the entire bed of pins here has no gap. The pins are larger and they're hexagonal shaped versus being a bit smaller and round. It turns out that the round pins are a better option. And I should also mention that the Gator Grip, even though it's a 3/4 inch socket, I should mention here that you can see those grooves, so it has been custom broached to be a Gator Grip socket. This Ultra Steel that's based on a spark plug socket, you can see no undercuts, so it wasn't custom machined to be one of these style sockets. Overall, I wouldn't recommend the Ultra Steel. This design with the larger hexagonal pins just does not work as well as the Gator Grip. The whole point of these sockets is they're similar to these gear wrench. This will happen to be Duralast brand quad box wrenches. So these are ratcheting box wrenches that actually have 4 different sizes. They're great for people who have to carry their tools around because it reduces weight and allows more versatility. That's why I talk about these Gator Grip sockets as kind of cheesy as they sound. They actually can be very handy because of their ability to work on a variety of not only size fasteners, both fractional and metric, as well as odd shaped stuff such as square fasteners, which can be also really handy. The Ultra Steel will of course work on a square fastener, and it does it reasonably well, but the issue really starts to rise on smaller fasteners. Say it's 12mm. We can get this in the Gator Grip, and depending on how you get it, if you gotta get those washers out of the way, if you feel around with it, you can see you can get quite a few pins on at least a few of the sides, and it actually gets a pretty darn good grip. These larger hex pins, there's something wrong with this design, because this 12mm, you can just, if you happen to put the socket right over the top of it, look at that, it doesn't even want to grip it. Just the pins are too large to get close enough to make a real difference, and that was my frustration. Is that this one seemed neat, so I picked it up because you know, these types of tools are definitely kind of rare and specialized. But I was disappointed that the Ultra Steel just does not work very well, and the 12mm seems to be about the size that really just throws this socket for a loop. If you get it offset, then it does a much better job. But if you're anywhere, you know, centered where you want to be, it spins around on it. And then even if it does get a grip, it's just by a couple little pins on the edges, and just actually ends up being a socket that strips out fasteners. So anyway, that was my take on this Ultra Steel. I shouldn't have spent whatever it was, $10 or something on it. But I did want to see how it did compared to the Gator Grip, and Gator Grip's still the #1 for these universal sockets. Even using a square fastener on a Gator Grip really fits tight. It's just the slightly smaller pins allow them to be just a bit more dynamic, meaning the smaller pins just are able to get better tolerances and closer to the faces of the fasteners, and so it ends up working a bunch better. So kind of had high hopes with this Ultra Steel. I like the idea of the hex pins versus the round pins, but at least in this first comparison, or this first experience with hex pin ones, they actually don't work anywhere near as well. Or maybe it would work better, but the pins would have to be smaller. But in this particular case, this Ultra Steel is just something that's going to either just not remove the fastener at all, or you know, strip it out. And very little of the time would I actually assume that it would be you'd be able to successfully use this socket. So anyway, that was my review of this little Ultra Steel. I would definitely pass on it if you see this video. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody who's been watching and subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. Until next time, Catus Maximus out.